I have an announcement to make. Recently, someone asked me if I was still Director of Communications. I told her the title was, at this time, pretty much not applicable, as well as redundant. With the coming of Cooper Square, the excellent efforts of Jan and Arthur, the imminent arrival of Cooper Square Connect, and the board's decision to have all communication go through management, there is no reason for this title. However, in my humble opinion, there never was. Therefore, although I am honored to remain as a director on this board, I am giving up the title of Director of Communications. And as I relinquish it, I'd like to take a minute to tell you what I haven't done for you over the past 7 months. As Director of Communications, I haven't answered any of your emails. I tried. I told the board everyone deserved the courtesy of a reply when they wrote to us. It was determined that I was wrong, so I was not allowed to write back to any of you in the capacity of Director of Communications, and I apologize to all of you for that. As Director of Communications, I haven't kept you apprised of what's been going on in the open session. I tried. When I got on the board in November, one of the first things I did was to tell the board that I wanted to synopsize the minutes of the open session to distribution to all the residents. No response. I brought it up a second time. No response. In retrospect, I probably should have just done it. But I was so much younger then, and at the time I really believed in the concept of being a team player. I was wrong. So again, I apologize to the residents. Then there was the time I did take action by asking the residents via the email blast for their opinion on keeping the Galaxy bus. Even though I received well over 100 letters, all heavily in favor of being asked their opinion on where their money was being spent, and only 2 letters which expressed displeasure, my actions were castigated and reviled by certain members of this board, even while a majority of the directors praised my initiative. There was even a rumor that appropriate punishment for my audacity had been talked about by certain directors, but this was quickly abandoned in the face of the overwhelming support that you gave me, and for that I thank you. For me, the realization that the title Director of Communications was a misnomer at best came when I read the Executive Council minutes of April 14, 2008, and I quote, "The board should take immediate action to make certain that no member of the board be permitted to use Galaxy channels of communication for personal use or gain." I didn't realize that the Galaxy bus was my personal use or gain. The minutes continued. Some council members took exception to the manner in which Luann issued a letter about the bus. The Galaxy distribution conduits are to be used for official purposes only. I didn't realize that how this board spends your money is not official Galaxy business. The minutes of this issue ends with, Lou took responsibility and apologized for the lapse. Well, I will not. There was no lapse. Your response showed me I did the right thing, and shining a light on this issue only made the bus self-sufficient. You're all welcome. But I will apologize for the lack of communication to the residents. I tried, I was not allowed to succeed. As I said, with the advent of Cooper Square, this question is now moot, and so is the title of Director of Communications. And to add to that, I want to say also that communications is not lacking only between the board, or was not lacking only between the board and the residents. It is also lacking within the board itself. And part of the thing that was brought up tonight that was obviously not wanted to be discussed, but I will add my 2 cents, was for me, it's a very simple matter. I don't understand how, as a director, I can really work for you and make informed decisions for you when I'm not informed half the time. And the perfect example is that, yes, there was a meeting with Cooper Square. Lou said he was having a meeting with Cooper Square. I have no bitch with that. I'll be very honest with you. He wanted to take 2 directors with him. I have no bitch with that. That's fine. I think that's fine. However, that meeting happened last Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning. We had a work session that Thursday night. We were together for hours in this room. Not one person brought up anything about debriefing that. And you know what? That's fine. If no one was going to be debriefed, then I guess we wait for Lou or whatever. Okay. But what happened was, when 4 directors left the room, and I asked the chair if the meeting was over, and the chair told me yes it was. And at that point, I and 3 other directors left the room. I stayed outside because I was stapling and doing Xeroxing for 10 minutes. And I noticed that the rest of the people were still here. Maybe they're talking about what they're having for dinner, I don't know. I was invited in. I know nobody stuck their head out the door to say, is anybody here? Wait, come back, we forgot something. We all have cell phones. None of the people in the room called any of the 4 directors who left to call them back. Yet, we find out the next day, and one director, and I will say Feeney, was the only one who called me and said, by the way, we did have a little debriefing of this meeting. We told people, Richard and Thomas were there, and we told them what was happening. And I said, well, why wasn't this discussed when we were all there? We were all there for hours. And it was like, oh, it just didn't come up, we forgot, it didn't happen. Well, you know what? Not acceptable. It's just not acceptable. And I think that we should all try to work together and be honest with each other and actually try to disseminate information. What is the secret? Why is half the board allowed certain information and the other half is not? It has now been 1 week since that meeting. I have not received anything on that meeting, and to the best of my knowledge, neither have the other 3 directors who are not allowed to leave that meeting and not be debriefed. That's all I have to say. Thanks, as always, for your time.